Alright, the second button is the actor menu, and it allows you to create a lot of different types of characters. The first type is the UT character. If I click on this, you see it has a list of all the player models that Unreal Tournament has. Now, if you installed any modifications or any custom models, any community models, they should basically show up here again if they are in your player list. Like if everything that shows up in the normal game should also show up here because it gets the same data. The second button is the voxel character button. This opens up a list of all the characters that you created in the voxel editor. Since we only created this one guy in the previous tutorial, Bob, I only have one item here on the list. And the third button would allow you to create 2D characters. Since we didn't create any 2D characters before, there's really nothing on the list. Now the fourth button is a very interesting button. It allows you to create puppets. All of your voxel characters, all of your custom characters that you painted in the voxel editor can be placed as puppets. Now, puppets are a little bit of a tricky thing, and you need some custom hardware, and we're going to cover them in a separate tutorial later on. So for now, just the things that are interesting for us are the UT character and the voxel character buttons. Those are really the interesting things. Now the third button is the props menu, and it's a very small menu that will grow rapidly within new Moviesandbox releases. Right now it has the very basic things that you need and some extra stuff. Now the first thing that you can do is you can create a target, which is basically just a spot, just a mark that you can place anywhere, and it helps you to determine where your characters can go, it helps you determine where your cameras can look, and so on. So it's a very handy thing. It's basically just something that you can place somewhere to tell the engine, you know, this spot will be interesting at some point. And the other thing is a camera, obviously, which you can place also. And the third thing is an instrument. Now the instrument is kind of more like a gimmicky thing here. We'll be using the instrument in a more advanced tutorial to make your character actually play guitar. But really for now, we're not really interested in the instrument. Really what we need is the target actor and the camera. And the fourth button is the node menu. Now, Moviesandbox doesn't have a timeline, and it doesn't work in a way that a nonlinear editing program works. Instead, it works in a way where you have lists of actions that your characters can do, and the way these lists are assigned, these lists are created, are through combining different actions and basically just drawing little spaghetti noodles from one action to the other. And it has a lot of positive things to it. There are a lot of things possible that you couldn't do in a timeline, but it takes some getting used to. So anyway, the node menu is the place where all the actions that your characters can do are situated, and also all the actions that Moviesandbox basically has, like the repertoire for the director, all the commands that the director can give are situated here in the node menu. And we'll be explaining all these things as we go through the different tutorials. Let's just leave it at this here, that this is the menu that you need to order your characters and your props around. The next button, this should represent a brush, and when I click on it, it will open this list of icons down here, and they'll stay open even though I click on other buttons. So this is basically, this enters draw mode, and just like with the voxel editor, this is basically a small voxel editor inside the scene editor where you can paint your own things. You can paint a sun, clouds, or a table right into the into your set, and this gives you a lot of possibilities to populate your set with different props. And you see that the icons are very similar to the voxel editor that we were talking about in the first tutorial. Now if I click on this icon again, the drawing mode basically disappears, and same goes for the next icon, which is the posing mode. And now this list of icons give you the possibilities to pose your character, to create animations for your character that you can then save and later recall and do all sorts of fancy things with. And we'll cover both painting and posing in later tutorials, but just to give you an idea of the functionality that's within Moviesandbox. And then obviously you have the system menu where you can save and load or return to the main menu, and this grayish kind of weird button where you can click and then you can change some fundamental preferences in Moviesandbox, like the speed that you'll be flying when you navigate, or if you want to have a grid, if you move objects, they move on a grid, they snap to a grid. You can change the grid spacing, and the render to disk button, which is also something that we'll cover in a more advanced tutorial, which actually enables you to create a DivX movie right out of Moviesandbox, not using any other program. Right, this here is a minimap, and I'll basically explain the minimap within a couple of seconds in the next tutorial, but for now, this should give you a basic idea of the buttons in Moviesandbox and what they mean. So stay tuned, and we'll actually create a new scene